here I was the first 2 months, 6 weeks-ish, as we opened this new location at home. And I was sitting at home and something was stirring in me where I was like, I actually think I could do this independently. I think that I can branch out and take the risk to do it by myself. And what was great about that, I had no money. So like really, I actually shouldn't have been taking a risk. Like I shouldn't have. I had $4,000 from a tax refund that year. And I said, you know what? I looked at my husband and I said, I believe enough in myself and in this opportunity that I just ask that you allow me to take this $4,000 invested in myself by going and opening a new location. And I promise you, if I don't have results in a year, I will be done with the dream, but just give me a year.
Okay, and we are live. Thank you so much, Vienna Meyers, for joining me today. Tell me what it is you do and the heart of soul of what got you here.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. Well, I've been in the health and wellness industry for the last 15 years, have a little bit of a career shift that's happened. But in general, very excited to share kind of some of those details with you today. So just to kind of go over all that.
Yes, I'm actually very excited for people who are listening. Vienna is my sister. And even though she is 10 years older than me and in Minnesota, I do not know much of anything that she's been up to and growing and networking and being in that space. And so I'm actually asking a lot of authentic, genuine questions because I too would love to learn all about how you got to be so successful. I know this much. So,
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. Beforehand, we were talking about stuff, and she was saying some of these questions I don't know. So should we prep them? And I was like, no, I think it turns out in the most authentic way for me to be able to share my story with you guys, but also for her to kind of learn along some of those things that I've done. I think that when it comes to family, like the surface level of like, oh, she's doing this or she's involved in that, but like some of the nitty gritty, which is like where I think all of the knowledge is like sometimes hard when you're in family to like know every little
yeah.
detail, which is great. So this gives us that opportunity.
Yeah, this is going to be way better than any family holiday, that's for sure.
For sure.
This is great. So tell me, how did you get started in the fitness and wellness business?
Yeah. So, a little bit of backstory of me is when I was in college. Actually, I had a child young. I was 19 years old, and so I was working two jobs, going to college, just trying to figure things out. And when I was in my last semester of college, I had actually received a coupon to come on into a nutrition club, which served like protein shakes, teas, things like that. I held on to that coupon for 6 months. So a little bit of a marketing tip, it works. And if you're not seeing the results right away, they do come back. But so 6 months later, I used my coupon, went into a nutrition club. And then it was one of those things that I just replaced with my fast food habits. So instead of like going into McDonald's or running to Subway, whatever, I just started going there. What I noticed was prior to graduating college, I was also getting married. And so, one of the things I was slightly interested in about creating a healthier habit was also losing weight for my wedding. And I started to lose so much weight. I was concerned my wedding dress wasn't going to fit. So I was like, okay, it clearly works. Like the shift, this nutritional change was making a change to my body. So I came home after the wedding, ended up joining a weight loss challenge, lost 20 pounds in 6 weeks. And really from there, like I ended up winning the weight loss challenge as well. So for me, it kind of sparked this interest of like really actually getting healthier for myself. Then it turned into kind of a transformation of the mind through personal development. And really, what it had done for me and my lifestyle was also now I wanted to teach other people that. So I had this entrepreneurial spirit. Alyse and I come from a background of entrepreneurs. And so for us, we were really looking for kind of some different things to kind of grow. And so with that, I ended up deciding to buy into the business that I had come into, that I was receiving all these results from. And then with that, we built another location. in total, we've built 13 locations like
Wow.
that. So all over central Minnesota, we have one in Florida. Yeah. So it's been fantastic. And yeah, I don't know. There's like such a deep story that I could kind of go on for hours. So you might want to like keep me on the train.
Interject.
Yeah, keep me on the train tracks a little bit.
Yeah, no worries. So I think that's so interesting to hear that you have like just flourished so much, and I can definitely see, especially with other people's journey, about how like weight loss really transitions that mindset shift of like wanting to do better mentally. It's interesting how the body and the mind go together so well like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things when I'm working with a weight loss client is there's either some sort of story they've told themselves, there's something that has created that habit in the first place, or even where they've been. And so by being able to either break through those barriers, what they come out on the other end, and what it probably takes from a mental standpoint, I can even say that for myself of working through some of those barriers, the personal growth on the other side of it, just not just about the weight loss, is so huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then did you end up having to like get any mentorships or any kind of community or any kind of help through all of that? Because that's a lot to go through, especially when I know the family you came from.
Yes, yeah. I think what was fantastic was, we built one location and then people were like, what are you doing? How did you do it? I want to learn. And I'd like to kind of do my own thing. So with that, yeah, so it was fantastic. I basically ended up building a hub to teach other people to then to go open their own location. And I myself continued to stay in a mentorship role and collect royalties on those locations. One of the things within the last 15 years was that I've always, no matter what, had a training facility. I've had a hub where I've utilized it to be able to train people. But I myself have had mentorships. And so whether that was life coaches, that was other people within the business that I was working with, throughout the last 15 years, I've always really seeked that. And I think in addition to the life coaching, to the mentorship, audible books have been huge, podcasts have been huge in learning real life, like what are people doing, what's working.
Hmm.
And I would say it's been a lot of trial and error too. So like there have been some really, when I started out, my first independent location, my first location I bought in, it was a partnership. Within 6 months, we decided to move our location to a more populated area. And then I did all the back end stuff. Like I worked with the city and the state. I worked with all the licensing, the contracting, the build out, and it
Oh,
almost created enough confidence in me. Just that, because it's like you don't know what you don't know, but that created enough confidence in me that I was like, I actually think I can do this on my own. So had a conversation with my business partner, and I said I was actually had gotten pregnant. We went the day that we went live at that location that we were building out. The day we went live, I went into labor. So
wow.
it was the night before we were putting finishing touches on the building. I was putting like posters up and things like that. And I was having labor having contractions in labor. And I was like, I think I need to go home. I'm not feeling well. And then on my way home, I was like, oh no, I'm actually in labor. So I ended up going to the hospital. And he was born the next day, which was our go live date. So that was kind of funny. We had done all the work prepping so that I would be on maternity leave, and knowing that. And so here I was the first 2 months, 6 weeks ish, about as we opened this new location at home. And I was sitting at home and something was stirring in me where I was like, I actually think I could do this independently. I think that I can branch out and take the risk to do it by myself. And what was great about that, I had no money. So like really, I actually shouldn't have been taking a risk. Like I shouldn't have. I had $4,000 from a tax refund that year. And I said, you know what? I looked at my husband and I said, I believe enough in myself and in this opportunity that I just ask that you allow me to take this $4,000 invested in myself by going and opening a new location. And I promise you, if I don't have results in a year, I will be done with the dream, but just give me a year. That's all I ask. And so I ended up 2 months later, opening my own location now that I had all this knowledge for the whopping total of $4,000. And like some of the pictures, actually, I just had some show up on my time hop on Facebook, are like the
That's
most
awesome.
humbling pictures. Like, it really looks like a Mexican restaurant. I had all of the bright colors that like look like Easter egg threw up on the wall. I had like the paint chalkboard where I like did chalkboard for everything, like all my writing, because I didn't have money to buy signs. And so, but it was just like such humble beginnings, even I had like NSF stainless steel tables, which was like my counter where I served a customer. But I remember with my first 30 days of profit, I was like, okay, first thing being built is a counter. So like we're legit. And so then had somebody come in and build a counter, and it really actually just transpired from there. Yeah, it was great. So in that, it was in the most humble beginnings where I was able to just grow like crazy. I call it ignorance on fire a little bit. I didn't really know like what it was what I was doing, but I was like, I had almost this yes mentality. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to rock it. Joined chamber, joined a biz to biz, like did all these things to really branch out. But with that, in a 2-year span in that location by myself, I had expanded 3 more locations just off that one. And then, yeah, I grew my check 3 times what it was. And so those were like the fun feet to the pavement, butt up, head down, like the whole bit. Like we call it guerrilla marketing, or at least that's what it was called back in the day, where you would do hand-to-hand invites. Like I would walk into every business, go into developments and hang flyers on doors. And so that was really how I like got the word out, was this hand-to-hand guerrilla marketing where I was introducing myself to everybody. And so that's really how it started. And I think maybe to just kind of like transpire, how did I get here? So I ended up having one of my business mentors, actually 2 of them, had reached out to me and said they're doing this model in California. It's this hub concept where instead of all of these different locations, there's one central location where the community comes to, and it's called a hub location. And they're doing it in California, where these bigger leaders are all under one roof and really
Wow.
having a lot of success. And so they had called me and said, we'd really like you to pioneer it in Minnesota. And I said, it was funny because was having so much success in the location that I was at. I was actually just starting the build out process of another location. So it was some brothers that had come to me and they had said, we want to buy this building. Would you potentially be a tenant? We didn't have anything in writing in contract. I said, yeah, you buy that building, count me in, I'll take that space. And so they had just come to me and they were asking about where I might need electrical, where I might need stuff like that. Again, no contract in hand, but I still was like, man, I had made this commitment. I need to honor that. But I kept getting asked and kept getting, having these different opportunities pop up. And I always think everything happens for a reason. So around this time, I also ended up getting into a car accident. I was on my way home from work, and an older lady had pulled out in front of me. I had the right of way. I was going about 50 miles, and she pulled out in front of me at stop signs. So I'd slammed on the brakes to lower the impact. And while I had done that, it was a front end on my end. I T-boned her. Because my foot was on the brake, I ended up having a lower disc slip and herniate my sciatica pretty severely. And so had never had back pain, had never had never broke a bone, never anything like that. But in a matter of seconds and minutes, like my whole world had changed. So I went from thriving, business growing like crazy, to all of a sudden I would be in my store and I would have to sit down by noon. Like I was in so much pain. It was crazy. I would do yoga in the morning and yoga in the afternoon, really from a pain management standpoint, like to make it home, because I had about a 45-minute drive home from my store to the home. And So anyways, they told me they're like, after 2 months, while all of this was going on, they said, you're going to need to have back surgery and you're going to need to have 6 weeks of recovery. And so
Ooh.
I was like, I don't know how to do that. The one singular employee that I was just rocking it out with, that was my ride or die. She had told me that she wanted to be done, and so she was looking at doing a change. Long story short, she ended up opening a location herself. So that was,
Yay.
but here I was, where I was like, okay, I could either take this path, go do this hub concept, take the 6 weeks that I need, or continue to try and just manage and more of a survival than thriving. So,
Oh, yeah.
so these was one of the, I always say, like, there's like a fork in the road. You have decisions to make, and there's pivotal moments within your business, within life. And this was one of those for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I ended up deciding to close that location, take a leap of faith, do the hubbing location, which was about an hour away from me. Still an hour drive from home, just the other direction. Ended up having the surgery. Woke up pain free, and yeah. So
That's
just
incredible. See, I think that's even interesting. I knew that you had gotten surgery, obviously, as your sister, but I didn't know like why or how or what had all transpired. And I think what's gonna be the most important thing I want my audience to grasp is like I know Vienna, and now she's a mom of three, but like throughout your life, like you had said earlier, you had a child at 19, like you've had kids and you've made it work and you've taken these leap of faith and you've had a lot of fork in the roads if you would ask me, and you have just constantly been resilient through the whole process. Like that's inspiring.
yeah. Well, and I would say too, like, when you think of people in business, and like you think of the number one question that I get, and probably the number one question I had when I was starting out, was, how do you find the balance? How do you find the balance between work life, kids? Like, it is. I mean, I would show up to like round robin leadership style training, and it was the question I always had, and I was never
Yeah.
really satisfied with the answer, because the genuine answer, I finally had somebody who just laid it to me real and said, there's no such thing. There is no such
Yeah.
thing as balance. It's either you're really on with your business this month, you're focused, you're grinding, you're building it this month, this year, whatever it is. But
Hmm.
then when it's like, okay, things are good, things are where I've achieved, now the balance is, now I invest into my family. And so,
Yeah.
and now it's family time, and I focus. I have a financial advisor who's in my same building, who was having that conversation with me, where he was saying, I worked really hard for the first 5 years of my business, really hard to just grind it out, build my book of sales, and of customers and clients. And he goes, and I've really taken a step back for the last 2 years that I've had kids. And he goes, I can't decide right now whether or not it's time to put the foot on the metal, foot on the gas, and kind of go back into it and grind. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm ready to do that, but also I can feel that there's this need. And I think that you just decide you have other goals you want to achieve, other things you want to work towards. And it's just finding the balance in that. It's not this like every day there's this perfect balance of work and life. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting that you one of your opening things was um like coming from a family of entrepreneurs, cuz you hold the idea, if I've heard you correctly over some of our conversations, is that you feel like our mom was really a go-getter.
Yeah, it's funny. When I look at it, when we were young, and I was at home, mom was, and there's a 10-year gap between between me and you. But
Yeah.
when I was at home, I watched her. I mean, she was always working, and in my younger years, she was either a nursing assistant or she was in a factory. But there was this moment where she was like, I want something better. I want more time freedom, flexibility. And she decided to go back to school. And now she ended up becoming a massage therapist, and that's what she went to school for. But I watched her sitting there studying the body and coloring with her colored pencils and all that, like the anatomy of the body, and working through college. Uh, and then she ended up building her own business. And so she started small with her massage therapy. So I saw her work really hard and get into that space. I also seen her take really big risks and it
Yeah.
not go great for her.
Yeah.
I watched her where she finally decided to take a leap of faith. She ended up locking herself into like I think a 10-year lease on a building that was well over $5,000 a month. I mean, 15 years ago was a lot. It was insane. But she had this vision of I want chiropractic, I want Eastern medicine, I want massage therapy all under one roof. It was really truly this space of holistic health. And so she basically was like had this vision of if you build it, they will come. Unfortunately, there was a lesson learned, and they didn't come. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and then there was a lesson learned in lease agreements and contracts, and I mean, she had to do a lot of work to then back out of that, and the landlord wasn't going to let her out of it, and there was a lot of battle that happened there. But for me, it created one, I saw this grit in her. I saw this, like the positives of it was I got to see her dream, her vision, and her work hard for what she wanted. And then also with that, I also now learned the value of a lease and negotiations and contract. I mean, the amount of people that I have call me almost monthly that are like, can you look over this lease for me? Can you have this
Really?
conversation and negotiate it for me?
Wow.
And so I've just been involved weirdly in a lot of those types of things, but it came from I need to know and protect myself. And from watching her. Um, but yeah, so we have that, mom, uh, since then she's been her own boss, she's been in her own location, she still
Yeah.
has done massage therapy. I'm trying to think how old mom is, which is bad that I don't know that, but
Well, so and one of the reasons I bring it up though is because even now with your daughter, Madison, she's 10 years younger than me. And so I've gotten to see her flourish. And now she's a grown woman adult herself. And I feel like she's super incredible. And I just feel like even just like as a third party looking in at like you coming from such, like you said, an entrepreneurial background and then creating such that space of like, I'm gonna, I'm build it and they're gonna come and it's gonna be really successful, to now having a grown adult woman daughter yourself who's really successful. Like that's incredible.
yeah, yeah, it's been fun. I think one of the number one things I think with all of my kids is I've held this philosophy of what's the one thing I'm going to teach them, and the one thing that
Mm.
I'm going to teach them and instill is confidence. And so
Oh.
now some days there is a fine line between cocky and confidence, but and I'm like, and sometimes they boarded that, especially my teenager, but I but I do think that the world will spend your entire life tearing you down. So if the one thing that I can instill in you from a foundational standpoint is confidence, and confidence in yourself, and confidence that you can achieve what it is you set out to, I really do think the world is your oyster. Like, let it rip. So that's, I started with her young on that. I think I started my business and my own drive for that when she was 4.
Wow.
She has truly watched me, same thing, watched me go
Flourish.
to college and watched me build my businesses and where we are today. And I think most people will get this that are in business or even in the health and wellness. It doesn't matter. Like you could be working out, it's like, oh, you're so lucky. It's like, no, this actually took a lot of work. And so it's been
Hmm.
fun because she's kind of got a little bit of spunk with her, like where, oh, you must be so lucky. Oh, your parents. And she's like, you don't know how much work it took. So that's been kind of fun to see. But like you said, she's fantastic. She's 19 years old and she's graduating from University of Oregon this June. And she's 19 with a 4-year degree. So I think that in itself speaks for how much of a go-getter she is. So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I just remember like her being in high school and going through college stuff too. It's just, yeah, it's really incredible. And she looks so much just like you. It's awesome. It's,
it's funny, people are like in the business world a little bit. It's all about
Mhm.
networking and who you know, and
Yeah.
I've always been a big connector of people. I love to connect and create opportunities and
What a
and putting out.
skill.
It's I love it. I love it. I think I was born for it for sure. But so she like is now in the business world. She's now graduating. She's trying to find she's got a legal studies minor, and so she's always decided that she was thinking she was going to go to college for law, and then with that she's now finding out a lot of that stuff is turning into AI, so she's really in this path of trying to figure it out. And so I'm kind of connecting her with different people that I'm like, hey, this might be a good path, this might ask questions, and all those people are coming back, she sounds just like you, she talks just like you. So it's funny, I'm like, I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I feel like if anything, like you are such a great role model for her to have, or just in general young people to have, because you do speak very well, and you do have like a lot of background in like being able to negotiate emotion and the fact. And I don't know if that's just because of our family history that I'm well rehearsed and how great you are at navigating that, but you I feel like you do really well, and that's half of the problem. I feel like in communication is just like the emotional balance in it.
Oh yeah. I took this I don't know why I can't think of the name of it right now, so I'll have to like think back. But there was
Yeah.
a course that I took that was there's like three phases to it. They kind of do it all over the US. And maybe even over the world, but they do this week-long course. There's three different phases. And so I did this first course, and it was down in the cities in Minnesota. And one of the big basics of the courses, the whole, what I can give you in one gist of the entire week was, let's say there's the event that happened in your life, so it's a dot on the wall, and then you draw a circle around it, and everything that is outside of the dot that's in the circle is the emotion. The dot is just the facts. And so I learned that when I was 30 years old. I went to this conference when I was 30 years old, and I truly in that moment was able to just realize anything, like the stuff that feels heavy, the stuff, it's truly just the emotion, not the black and white of what actually has happened. And so there's so many different areas in my life where I was able to apply this concept of like, it's like what's my intention here, what am I actually trying to get out of this, or how I feel, or what's the goal, and then two, like, is the emotion necessary, like, or is it's not. And so in most of the cases it's not. It's like, let's just boil it down to the black and white. But I think even when I talk to you some about, our family or things like that, I'm like, okay, I have to be really clear on what's my own intention, like what is it that this even matters. And so,
Mhm.
and if I
Mhm.
can't be clear on my intention, then I'm like, okay, actually it doesn't matter. This is not.
Mhm.
So, and that can be applied in so many areas of life.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's the hardest part about doing business or being a business owner, right? Because you're dealing with customers and all these other things, and you try not to take it personal, or you're like trying to make sure that you sound confident, or like all these other fluctuations that come into like just being a business owner.
Yeah. It's funny. I was just having this conversation. I'm now, I should tell you, years in, multiple nutrition clubs. I have actually remarried. And so my husband's a business owner and family owner, and we're doing that. But the hat that I'm wearing now, the office that I'm in, is actually, I'm the community chamber. So we're called Cold Spring Area Chamber of Commerce. And it's a part-time position that has allowed me to still stay connected to the community along with all the other hats I wear. But I was just having this conversation with one of my chamber members where it's like, I have always been so confident, even in high school. I sold shoes for Clark's and Bostonian, and I had always said, like, sales is in my blood. Either you have it or you don't. But I always felt like if I believed in the product and that the product was a good product, I could
Mm.
sell the crap out of it.
Mhm.
So whether it was Clark's and Bostonian shoes, because I was like, I genuinely believed they were good for your soul, like soles of your feet, they had good arch support, all the things, right? But now in the realm of the chamber or networking, I'm like, I do believe that every business should be a chamber member because it is community, it's connection, it's networking, it's all the things. And so to my core, I'm like, I know that this is a good product and I can sell it confidently in that way. So for whatever reason, if it's a no, right? Like, so I recently had this, I'm going to give you this scenario. I reached out to a promotional company. I said, we don't have anybody that is on our chamber that is in promotion, like merchandising, things like that. To me, that was like saying you don't have a realtor or an insurance agent because there are a dime a dozen. So I was like, how is it that we have over 200 members, but yet we don't have anybody in the promotional? And I needed swag for the chamber. I needed to buy a tent, tablecloths, all that stuff. So I'm like, whoever could just be our promotional person, you're my go-to person. And I know independently, we're about to give you a ton of business. So I had kind of asked for referrals very confidently. I'm like, okay, I know, here's the laundry list of things we need. And somebody kept giving me this person's name. So I said, okay, I'm going to reach out to her. I reached out to her and she goes, oh, people keep calling me to be a part of their group. And she kind of was nasty about it. And I said, no worries. I just wanted to give you the shot before I put it on social media to say, who do you have? Because then we'll have this. And she goes, okay, I get it. Thanks for the call. She goes, but you can go ahead and put it on social media. Mind you, fast forward 12 hours later, she literally called me the next morning to apologize because she felt bad for the communication. But my point was, I put this on Facebook. I had over 4 businesses interested. Within 24 hours, we had 4 promotional business, one including hers, that ended up joining the chamber. And I'm like, now, but I'm not kidding you. I could have been so irritated. I could have been so hurt. I could have all the things, but I'm like, no, I know
Emotional.
the product that
Yep.
that we provide to the community is actually so good. I'm not
Mhm.
offended. I mean, her apology the next day was, I have stuff going on in my personal life. I shouldn't have taken it out on you. It wasn't professional. I'm sorry, which is great. But in that moment, it was good too, because I didn't take it personally. Like it didn't affect me at all, even in the slightest, because I was like, no, I know we have a good product. So like and there must be some reason for something in your business that it doesn't work, which is totally okay. But I'm not going to take personal offense to it. So, and I just think, again, there's so many areas in life like that where people are so busy walking around worrying about themselves. They're not thinking about you or what, that interaction or those things. And so it just kind of all boils down to confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if anything that like if you were to ask me after all of my challenges in being a business owner that like the outside and like community like expectation of you to hold yourself with like integrity and responsibility and to like communicate appropriately like really corrects people's like behavior about like taking things personally or just even being nasty. Like I feel like especially I go to chamber events here in Wyoming and I like want people to know that I'm a nice person or that I'm kind and I'm confident as well. And so that changes the way that I act outside of my house. Not that like in my house I'm not kind or confident, but I'm definitely not like overly professional with my husband or
We always like
that.
to say, we always like to call that like you're on, right? Like you're on.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I think that when you're in business, it demands a little bit of a different level of professionalism and poise, right? And so at least I would say those that care, those that are the businesses that care. And
Mhm.
so I think that also if you show that you care, that also shows like you're trying to grow as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If anything, I feel like there's always mixed emotions when I kind of bring this up, but the concept of should everybody be a business owner or an entrepreneur? What is your take before I give you what I've heard?
Yeah. Well, I think that no,
No.
not everybody should. Like that is a solid. I think there are people who are business owners that definitely shouldn't be business owners, but I think that I think people think that it is easy, that it is like, well, if they can do it, I should be able to do it. Like I think people have these grand ideas But I do think that you have to be prepared in business ownership to wear all the different hats. So you're the accountant, you're the marketing or marketing department, um, you're the billing, you're the salesperson. I mean, you're literally you're the inventory taker. You're wearing all of these different hats. And I think that people think the idea of being a business owner or an entrepreneur, one, they think money. They're like, oh, like time freedom, money. Usually it's more money than time freedom. Because if you really knew about business ownership, you'd know that the time freedom doesn't really come until much further. and so, and so I think that, so it's this thing that people think it's fun, and it is if you make it. But I do think that there are all these different hats that you have to be able to navigate and wear, and you have to be organized, and you have to be hardworking, and all of those things. So, and I think a vision beyond just 3 years. Where is it that I'm trying to go? Because when you're in the thick of it, it is that vision that keeps you grounded in what it is you're doing versus just, well, that didn't work. I tried it. It didn't work. And now what? Like, I think that's where we see, especially around COVID, a lot of these businesses that like popped up, and that either, especially health and wellness. Like, if you're in the health and wellness, you all know, all of a sudden nobody cared more about their body, their health and wellness coming out of COVID than the whole world did, right? So, I
Yes.
mean, we saw this massive spike in our business. All of our nutrition clubs were allowed to stay open. We were food, so we were a priority or whatever, essential, I should say. And we saw such a spike in our business. It was crazy. The amount of growth, and I can imagine you too, in counseling, like the amount of growth, mental health, health in general, all of a sudden was just through the roof. So we've seen all of these businesses pop up. I ask you now, 5 years, 6 years later, after these businesses have popped up, how many of them are still open? How many of
Oof.
them are still around?
Yeah.
Like, so many of them were like, they saw the wave, they jumped on, they opened a business, they started a business. And I'm like, they're not here. And they're not here because they jumped on during the wave and they didn't know how to work in the valley. Which is like, eventually it levels out. Eventually there's going to be slow months, and they don't know how to just hang on through it, or
Mhm.
actually authentically build their business when it's not highly being seeked out. Um, so yeah.
No, yeah, I feel like so many questions for me came up as you were like explaining some of that. But yeah, I have a lot of people who either are like strong, yes, everybody should be a business owner, or strong, no, not everybody should be a business owner, especially a fitness owner or a gym owner in those kind of senses, because it's just there's seasons, like you said, there are valleys, and you have to wear all the hats. And in a weird way, I hear a lot of people at least agree that like you should have to do customer service at a minimum as like a teenager or like a starting job or whatever. And I think that's why I'm also, though, in that weird debate, an advocate why everybody should be a business owner, because I think it's like a forced position for you to sharpen your skills of like communication, money management, like time management, like even for yourself to have like that drive or that ambition to like actually have like some kind of integrity about yourself and where you're going, take responsibility about, like you said, where are you going in 6, 10 years.
Yeah.
And usually I ask a little bit later in the podcast, but about legacy. And that's where I strongly think we're going so far south as a society, is as we can see with the boomer generation or the silver wave that's occurring. It's like there's no plan for like what happens when our kids needs a job or a house or a life. And so then when you think about legacy, I feel like a lot of people end up bringing up like, oh, like Walmart or bigger brands, billion-dollar brands, legacy type thing, whereas like no, 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 like we can make an impact and have a legacy.
Yeah. I think that there's two pieces to that I want to speak to. I
Tell
think,
me. Yes.
like, to deep dive, I heard this kind of analogy. Like, I think, especially in my 20s, I was like, I do think everybody should be a business owner. I do think that
Here
everybody
I
should.
am, 29.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, I do think that I was like, I held that space. And I think somewhere along the lines, I heard this analogy that, like, but we need them all. We need all types of people, not just business owners. Like, because if we were all business owners, who do we have as employees? Who do we have doing our accountant and our taxes? Who do we have, like whatever the case may be, right? I mean, obviously an accountant or a tax person could be their own business owner, but it was basically like, I don't, the languaging always gets me because I'm always like, I want to build people to be this confident, like empowered humans. But it's like, you do need the smaller person. You do need the person who's entry level. You do need the person who actually has an interest in maybe only working part-time and being at home with their babies. You do need the person that,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be, because I also think the world doesn't flourish or your ideas don't get off the ground if that's the case. So as much as a business owner needs the customers, we also need the employees. And I think that in that case, not everybody's going to be the business owner. And so I think there are different ways for people outside of business ownership to understand that I have a goal, I have a dream, I have a vision of something that I'm working towards. And I don't know that that necessarily needs to be through business ownership, but how do we teach that would be my question. How do we teach people to dream, to have goals, to, you know what I mean? Like think outside themselves a little bit. And I think maybe that's what the part of business ownership does, that what we want for other people. So there's that. That's my piece on that. But then the piece of legacy, I think that's great. That's exactly when I always say, like, I want to be really clear on what my intention is. My intention, like, I knew I loved health and wellness. I love health and wellness, and and it's been a big part of my life. Like actually, in the last 3 years, I ended up being diagnosed with 2 autoimmune diseases, which really put a whole different perspective on my life. Like it really, I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's and celiacs, all because of a building that we put up that had mold in it. We didn't know, we were renting it, and I got diagnosed with mold toxicity, which then spawned the autoimmune diseases. I ended up gaining 40 pounds in 6 months, which I had been the same peak physique weight, for the last, however, 12 years. And so now it's put me on this different journey. But what it really has done is giving me perspective of how do I want to live my life? What's my intention? Because to be honest, for the last 15 years, I've been grinding it out. My whole life's motto was I'm going to live like nobody does so that I can live like nobody does. So what that meant to me was no TV in my living room. I didn't go to weddings. I didn't go to birthday parties because I literally was working on the bigger dream to be able to provide this lifestyle for my family that nobody else had. And so that's great. But also while I was doing that, my 13-year-old son was the one that kind of took the back seat. So then being all of a sudden sick, I was like, I need to have some perspective. Like maybe I don't need to be in my storefront from sunup to sundown. And maybe I actually need to be home and be present and collecting some of these royalties that I've worked really hard to build. So for the last year and a half, that's what I've done. I've been home. I've been present. I jokingly said that I was a stay-at-home mom, which my kids laughed. My older daughter was like, "This isn't who you are. You're a driver. You're a go-getter. You're a strong, independent woman." And I'm like, I can be stay at home. Like I can be a really powerful woman and be stay at home too. But with that, that's where I was like, gosh, I miss the networking piece. I miss the connection to the community. So I just want to say, like, what's your intention? What is it that is like the greater goal? When we speak about legacy, I actually do want to mention what's right behind me here, this like really cool board. 5 years ago, I had this idea where I was like, I actually don't want health and wellness to be the only thing. I want it to be a vehicle and a tool to greater things. Like, what is it that I can do that is beyond myself? So I had this idea of starting a nonprofit, which I started 5 years ago. And when I was doing that, I had a relationship with an auctioneer where he was like, we should do, it's a benefit auctioneer. So he was like, we should do some sort of benefit. And I said, when I get to a community where I'm passionate about something, I'm all in. I'll do this with you. So here I was for the first time in years now, actually in the community where my kids go to school. I've built businesses all over, but never in my own backyard where my kids attended. And so here I was asking the community, now that I'm here and I'm in the community, I said, where's the need? I kept hearing two things: historical society, which I was like, we don't need one more business on Main Street that's got junk in it. And, and then a football field. Like the school is 1 in 3 in the entire state that doesn't own their own football field. We have a dirt track, so we bus our kids to a track and field that is the next school over, like next town over. So they get on the bus every day to go practice on their track and field. But our football team has made it to state year after year. Our track team has been state winners for the last 3 years in a row. So I'm like, these kids are like dynamite athletes that are on a shoestring budget, that literally have no facility. And then our neighboring towns have had really big donors come in and like build the Taj Mahal of fields. And so like college level, like top 10 like fields, scoreboards, just over the top. And so I was like, I just want our kids to have a field, and it doesn't need to be this crazy elaborate college level field, but a field that we don't have to bus our kids to. So I jokingly was like, well, let me start, see what I can do, and maybe we can pay for the uniforms. Like, so my first goal was to raise 25,000 with a 1-day event towards this project. Our first year we raised 88,000. Our second year we raised 100,000. All in now we're at $305,000 raised. This will be our 5th year event. And we did soil borings on the land. We've hired a design engineer. We've got 3D prints. And so we're actually looking at breaking ground at the end of this year, and goal is to complete the project 2027. But when I think of legacy, I'm like, how cool is that? I can say from ground up, I saw this vision, I saw this project, I put in the years, I've put in the work, and we're about to build a sports complex for the school district that will change the trajectory of this school, not only from an attendance standpoint, because the people are leaving to head to the other districts because they have other opportunities, but also like for the community. Like we see it as a walking path, Relay for Life. Like half the community is elderly and doesn't have a safe place to walk. So when I think about it, I'm like, how cool is it? These are just micro ways that we get to now change such bigger impact. Yep.
Yeah.
And I have the time freedom to be able to run the organization because of the business that I've created through health and wellness, but also the financial freedom to be able also to put me in conversations with people, to having these big dollar conversations that, I mean, like to be seated at a table so confidently to have those conversations has been huge. So
yeah, absolutely. So what would be your piece of advice to help business owners? Because I feel like I think we've launched, I would say 12, I think for sure 15 in the month of April podcasts, and not a single business owner has really been able to tell me like, oh yeah, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, this is the legacy. I feel like so many people are stuck in I'm just trying to survive. I'm just trying to run day-to-day operations, or if it's like a mom, I've had women be like, oh, well, it's my kids, right? And I'm like, that's, I mean, like, what's more than just like, yep, you raised your kids, right? So then I'm like, what's your piece of advice to help people start thinking about that microwave?
Yeah, so that's really cool because I had gone through a divorce, and then I met my now husband. Kidding you when I tell you, the second interaction we ever had, he came into my store. And then the second interaction he came back, I was sitting down and working on paperwork, and he goes, do you mind if I like pick your brain a little bit? So he asked me point blank, and I was able to confidently, like, let me roll off my tongue. Here's my 5-year goal. I mean, if you ask him still to this day, how did he know that I was his person? That's it. He goes, I've asked people my entire life, what's their 5-year goal? And they couldn't answer the question. And so that was one way that we connected. We both were very clear. Here's our vision. Here's our goal. The other thing I would say I remember when I was trying to cast a vision, like I was like, what do I need to do? Do I need to go do house tours? Do I need to go tour somebody's private plane? Like, how do you get this like out of the box big vision? What is it that you need to do to, whether it's surrounding yourself with those people? So there was a panel of people and I got to interview and I asked this, I said, what is it that you do to like expand your vision? And one of the pivotal moments in my life was the mentor that I very much so admired. She responded, she goes, if you don't know what your vision is, or you don't know what your goal is, you've got problems bigger than the question. And I remember being like, oh, how dare she? How dare she? Like I was just a simple question when we were told to be prepared with questions for the panelists, like, you know, whatever, all the things. But she was right. Like she was right because you should be able to like, if somebody were to wake you up in your dead of sleep, could you be like, this is what I'm working towards? And clear like that. And something that I think what you mentioned is moms, especially, where they'll say, what, you know, what's your why, right? And they'll say my kids. And so your kids is great. I have three. They're my life, right?
They're okay, yes.
Yeah, but does it create emotion for you? Does it create some sort of excitement, emotion, create you to be emotional? And if it doesn't, you need to dig a little bit deeper. So what is it about your kids? What is it about maybe creating financial freedom for legacy, for your family's family, for the kids that you're not going to meet in your family? Like maybe it's that. And so yeah, I think just maybe getting really clear on what it is that goal is. You know, my husband and I can tell you, like, we already know, like, this is our next move. Here's the piece of land that's currently not for sale, but we're going to buy it, and we've made our intentions known. Like, you know, all the things, like, this is the next phase. And so just being clear on that. I don't know if that kind of helps answer some of that question, but yeah, the other thing I would just say too, we do a 1 year, a 5 year, a 10 year plan. We only go 10 years out. Life changes. Your goals will change even, you know, throughout the year, they might change, but like mostly within the same reason. But we'll do 1 year, 5 year, maybe three, 1, 3, 5, and 10. But we do an annual, like you would do a meeting for your business. We do an annual business meeting for our life. So we basically call them buckets. So our personal, our kids, our different businesses, and then we basically lock ourselves, whether it's at the house, in a hotel, at a retreat, for a weekend, and we work through what are the goals. And obviously our 5 year, 10 year, those don't change every year, but we do revisit the greater goal. So that's always the thing that's at the top, so that all of our stuff that we're doing from year to year, is it working towards that greater goal? Is it funneling towards that? So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's always hard for people, especially when like the economy fluctuates or like COVID happens or like all those things. Like people feel like they're spinning their wheels or they get stuck in these loops or valleys where they are not making any progress. And yeah, so I definitely feel like that's so important, like you said, to have like those meetings as like a collective, you and your husband, of like, this is what we're working towards,
yeah,
right?
I would say too, like, to make sure sometimes, like, if you're in the daily grind, the monthly grind, the best thing that you can gauge yourself on is yourself from last year. So, like, where are you at? I think that sometimes, like, people will be like, oh, like, it's such a slow month. It's such, you know, like, this has been so tough. But I'm almost so like, well, where were you last year this month? You know what I mean? Like, and it's always about like that 1% better. How do I be 1% better? And I think sometimes we're our own worst critics, where I'm like, as a business owner, it's hard because it's like, it's you against you. But I'm like, then uh, base yourself off you from last year. Like, if you're not having growth in comparison to last year, then what is it that you can do to implement some changes to be able to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's massive. Man, I have so many more questions and so many more things that are just like popping up for me. I'm like, oh my God, this would be good for people to know. This would be good for people to know. Which just tells me that like you're gonna have to come back on so that we can all know.
Yeah,
where are you now, or like what's happening now? How can we support you? How can the community listening support you? What is going on today?
Well, if you're in Minnesota, make sure you like the Cold Spring Area Chamber of Commerce page, or if you need ideas, like I'm a big events girly, so events is where it's at. So the other thing is we have a seasonal campground. That's what my husband comes from. So it's called Cozy Corners Campground. And so you can find us that. We have a bar and restaurant on site called Cozy's Lakeside Bar and Grill. So we're in Richmond, Minnesota. But yeah, like if you want to get ideas, things like that. But if you feel compelled, like, man, something really stuck with this. So feel free to find me on Facebook or Instagram, and definitely I can help out in any way, or bring me back on and I can help answer any questions people might have. I would love to. So
That would
anything.
be awesome. Oh, you're so kind. Yeah, I think especially like as we're moving through the economy, some of those things about like especially how you're helping Madison, your oldest daughter, like navigate through like AI now and like the finance world and preparation and that kind of stuff. I think those are big topics too that I think a lot of people have nowadays that I think you would definitely be able to at least give us some insight or like feelings on, especially having a older daughter and now a young daughter.
Yeah, I was like, we didn't even cover that. I have a 19-year-old graduating college, a 13-year-old boy,
Yeah.
and I have a 10-month-old daughter. So we
Yeah.
graduated our 19-year-old. We graduated her from high school at 17, and I literally was like, I am not ready to be done, and so decided to like do it again. So I really say, like I touch all the spectrums: new
Yes,
mom,
you do.
like teenage boy, and then also a college student. So I think obviously first time, there you roll through the first time of things, but yeah, no, for sure. And then we, like you said, I actually have a minor in business finance, and so finance has always been, and accounting has always come weirdly easy to me. So any stuff in that realm, obviously I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA, but I would
This
definitely
is
be.
not tax advice. This
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. All the legal jargon, but yeah.
yes.
Um, but yeah, so I'm here to
Perfect.
help wherever you need.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you joining me today and telling us all the things. And now I'm so excited for us to have more episodes. So thank you. I hope you have a good rest of your day and thank you everybody for listening.
Thank you.